Okay, so almost half of women are apparently going to be childless and single by the year 2030. And this is women between 25 and 44. That's baby making age. And here are the three reasons that that's happening right now. And reason number one is feminism. And by the way, of course, I'm for women making equal pay. Of course, there's a bunch of epic things about feminism. Of course, it was needed. But here's one of the consequences of feminism, whether you like it or not. As we get into this, let me ask an honest question to all the women out there. Would you prefer that your man makes less than you, makes the same amount as you, or makes more than you? Put it in the comments. Less, same, or more in the comments. Of the last 20 women that I asked this to over the last week, there was one person who said the same amount or more. Everybody else said they would prefer their man to make more than them. And I think that's valid and fair. And it just is that very rarely, if ever, I've never heard a woman say they want their man to make less than them. So pre-feminism, you got a bunch of women making less than men. Therefore, there's a large amount of men that fit that requirement of a woman wanting a man to make more than them and fulfill that need of the man providing and protecting. And then as feminism progresses and equal pay progresses, you got more women making the same amount of men, making the pool of men that make more smaller. To where we're at today, where women are by and large making the same amount as men, making it a lot harder for a lot of women to fulfill a biological need that they have. Now, a second massive contributor to this tsunami of singleness is, we'll call it the Orrin effect. Imagine this star as a pea, where you have a generation of men that literally grew up on this stuff. This is what they started seeing when they were like 12 years old. I'm 42. The extent of my exposure to Orrin was a friend finding a VHS tape in his dad's closet, which still scars me to this day. Think 70s shag carpets on humans. Moving on. So this Orrin effect not only leads to men not treating women with dignity and respect or taking any of their needs into account in the bedroom by and large, but it does something that no one's talking about right now, which it actually satisfies a percentage of a man's needs. Here's what I mean. As human beings, women or men, we all have needs. And the more stuff like Orrin or these AI girlfriends that are coming out and all sorts of other things, as these things start to stack up and start to satisfy a man's needs a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, it starts to take away his necessity to learn how to interact with women in a healthy way, how to approach, how to get outside of his comfort zone and face the potential rejection of a female. And as a man, I can tell you there's nothing that hurts more than being rejected by a female. So that leads to even less guys being in the dating pool again, and women just not being that happy with the guys that are left. But here's the absolute kicker, and it's actually something that women are not doing on dates that they need to be doing. I've got a client who specializes in helping women over 40 find their soulmate in 6 dates or less. So she's got an 80% success rate at finding women over 40 their soulmate in 6 dates or less. And here's the number one reason that she's so successful. She says, again, her words, not mine, that women fool themselves into believing that there's no good guys out there, that the guys that they're going on dates with just aren't stacking up. And she says that in reality, it's the questions that a woman asks on a date, or more importantly, the questions a woman doesn't ask, that lead to a woman not liking the person that they're on a date with. She told me that women just don't know how to ask the right questions that will actually elicit a man's passion, what he stands for, what he would die for, what makes him him. All the things that a woman would eventually fall in love with. But rather than that, a woman hops on a date and they're like, yeah, what do you do for a living? And do you have siblings? And all these boring questions that don't elicit a man's heart. And she says, when they start to ask the right questions, you'll start to get the right responses that will give a woman an opportunity to fall in love with that man. So if you're a single man or a single woman right now, put the number one cause of that in the comments right now, and that'll help me with part 2. Put it in the comments and follow for more.